most of us, and I would say that the majority of us, we did not know the information that we were giving away. And all of that stuff that we just, we were like,
being collected and collected
right?
and collected.
We didn't know,
Yeah.
right? Most people didn't know, and we all did it, right? AOL got thousands of our information, right? And then what do they do with that, right? As they separate, they sell pieces, and now that is here, that is there, that is everywhere, right? So now it's like now we surprised why, how come do they know this? It's like, remember back in the early 90s and late 80s when you were doing this, then that's it. Right. So all that information is stuff that stays there and it stays there forever.
Welcome to this episode of Mission Control. This is your host, Ramon Peralta with Peralta Design, and we launch brands. And we've got an exciting episode here for you. We've got the one and only Darwin Lara, founder and CEO of EVO Corp, a premier cybersecurity and managed IT services provider.
Yes. Thank you.
Darwin, thank you for being here.
Thank you for having me, Ramon.
I've been watching you over the last few years. You've been on your grind, building your business, learning, absorbing.
Right.
You've been consistent, and I know that you're a force to be reckoned with. You are the 2023 Rising Entrepreneur of the Year by the BRBC. So congratulations on that.
Thanks.
A member of the Small Minority and Business Enterprise, and an ambassador to BRBC, which is the Bridgeport Regional Business Council.
Correct.
And a member of the Bullet Havens Technical High School Advisory Committee.
That's right.
Great job. I also want to recognize and welcome Jorge, the man on the soundboard. Jorge is our Director of Web Development here at Peralta Design.
How's it going, everyone? Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are in the world today.
Okay. So Darwin, man, I literally right before this episode, I got a text that I had a traffic ticket. What is going on? And if it's not that, I go home and I get a letter from either a bank or a hospital or insurance company where there's been a breach. So our data is just out there.
Right.
What can we do from a cybersecurity standpoint to protect ourselves?
So one of the things that I always recommend, right, is to stay vigilant, to learn more, to make sure that you recognize all of this spoofing, all of this text, all of these SMS messages, all of these emails, and recognize them as a threat. And sometimes even the ones that you get that you might think is somebody that you're doing business with,
right,
a friend, a colleague, even those, question it. Just take a second and question it, because just like it happens to you, it happens to me. It happens to me all the time. I got them from one of my employees, one of my right-hand guy, sent me an email. And, when I'm reading them, I'm like, wait a minute, that doesn't sound like him.
It doesn't sound like his voice is, right? So he doesn't talk like that.
but I guess I'm trained in spotting this, but that doesn't mean that I can't get caught, because, I'm only human.
Right.
And, there's times that I'm down and I'm busy and I'm exhausted and I'm frustrated, and that could be the day.
Right.
So you stay vigilant.
Right. They catch you at a weak moment.
Yeah. And we'll have them.
I mean, these are legit villains, like bad guys.
It's
out
so
here.
true. And think about how, people talk about how artificial intelligence has helped us, increase productivity, and we can do things like automate everything from video production to animation, artwork, but text.
That's what's scary.
Those powers are being used for evil as well.
They're being used for
good.
evil, because I was on it recently on a webinar about using AI in marketing. Right? I just want to kind of stay on top of what's going on. And this guy was like, well, the problem with AI is that you can use it as a draft, but then you got to kind of add your own personal voice. But then at the same time, he said, well, you can take a few of your emails or a few of your articles and drop them into AI, ChatGPT, let's just say, and then you can say, make me sound like this. This is my voice. So what's stopping the bad guys from grabbing one of your emails, right? Let's say you have a certain sign off.
That's exactly what they're trying to do.
Cheers,
or you say, yo, everybody, or whatever. They can just make a fake email that sounds like you now using AI.
Exactly. And that's why it's so important when you're not, think about any unsecured network where you're connecting to the internet.
Yeah.
go to an internet cafe, whatever it is. And
we all do it. Airports.
Exactly. That's all just free data collection. So now they have a little file on you that I can start to collect this person's voice over non-encrypted messaging.
Right.
So it's insane. You have to literally question everything.
Right.
And even as it's come down to a protocol with our own clients, like I got requested access for all the time for hey, can you give me the access to our Google account or a domain? And I have to actually, the policy now is I have to talk to somebody in order to provide those credentials.
Right.
Because I have no idea if the person on the other side is.
And let's clarify, Darwin, by talking to somebody, it's like literally pick up the phone. Correct. So that you have your own version of this two-factor authentication.
Correct. Yes. Because even that, like now they found a way to bypass that as well, right? And when you guys were talking about ChatGPT and asking ChatGPT all of these questions, right? One of the things that because I use it myself, right? But I avoid using names and I avoid like making it look like it's an email or making it look like it's coming from somebody, right? So I make it very generic, and then I go and I edit it myself. Right? Because again, once you give, because I'm trying to
because you're trying not to give information to the AI.
Correct. And I do that for everything. I try to give the least amount of information. I try to trick them themselves, right? Because they try to trick us, so I'm trying to trick the them.
Robots,
right? Yeah. Because you have to do it. You have to. Like sometimes, like. Just I'm gonna take you back a second, right? Like when the internet first started, right? The dial-up, all that tone, right? Remember,
ding,
right?
ding.
I was talking, I was talking to my son about it. I was like, I used to have a
you
little.
got mail,
right? I used to,
I told my daughter we had to turn the internet on. It wasn't always on. Right. There was no Wi-Fi.
Run it on, right?
Not just that. Sometimes you had to disconnect your house phone and plug it into your modem, and you couldn't take calls because you wanted to be online.
So my computer was in my room, so I used to go all the way downstairs. It was in the attic. I was downstairs to the bathroom, get myself something to eat, come back, and I'll still have to wait to get connected, right? And he was looking at me like, huh? Right? But early on, right, when we started using computers and we started using the internet, right, most of us, and I would say that the majority of us, we did not know the information that we were giving away. And all of that stuff that we just, we were like,
being collected and collected
right?
and collected.
We didn't know, right? Most people didn't know, and we all did it, right? AOL got thousands of our information, right? And then what do they do with that, right? As they separate, they sell pieces, and now that is here, that is there, that is everywhere, right? So now it's like now we surprised why, how come do they know this? It's like, remember back in the early 90s and the late 80s when you were doing this, then that's it. Right. So all that information is stuff that stays there and it stays there forever.
And forever. Tell us about the dark web, because we hear that. People hear about that. It sounds like this scary place.
So one of the things that you were mentioning earlier, this phishing or the
spoofing
right. The dark web is literally a criminal enterprise, right? They have teams, just like you have your teams. They have teams, and like if you want to send, a ransomware, an attack, or spoofing email, you could literally buy this stuff. You could just call them up and just sell them to you, and there you go, done, right?
Like you could buy your own kit on ripping people off from the bad guys, and it's crazy.
And just think about the they probably have stats like ROI. This nets, you know what I mean?
You'll scam this many people.
They do, and they have prices. So like, okay, what do you want to use it for? You want this, and it's just like
And they use Bitcoin so that it's like untraceable and stuff like that.
Right. So then the only thing that we could do is stay vigilant, and hopefully you have a good, strong team, and no team is really strong because you always have a weak link, right? But it's just consistently training them and educating them about the threats, because anything could happen to any of us at any day, and then we out of business pretty much, right? Our reputation is ruined, right? So.
Well, you bring up a good point that a lot of people feel like, well, if I have all the hardware and I have all the, back in the day with all the antivirus software and things like that, but actually the vulnerability is the human element.
Right, exactly. This is why you have companies that have multi-billion-dollar security teams that still get penetrated because of the human element. It is somebody literally. It's like a vampire. You have invited them in at that point, and then there's nothing you can do, and that's the weakest link.
Right.
You could have the best firewall ever. You could have the most preventative measures in the world, and that still becomes vulnerable.
Right. There's like literally nothing that you could have in place to actually protect you 100%, because there is always the human element, and we are not perfect, right? But even the software and the hardware and all of this stuff, they all got vulnerabilities, right? You need to patch them, you need to update them, you need to stay on top of your stuff, right? And unfortunately, for small businesses, they don't have a team. And sometimes they might just have a cousin or somebody, this, he has some knowledge, but it's just basic knowledge of how to connect and navigate and sometimes I say copy and paste stuff, right? But they really don't know what to do when it comes to like, okay, you know what, my software is updated. What should I do? Oh, I need to patch this. Oh, I need a firewall. What do I do? How can I stay in track of it? That's when you need an extra hand. That's when you need guys like us to come over here and say, okay, this is what you need. This is what you need to put it. This is how you need to protect yourself. And we're going to make sure that we stay on top of it and protect you literally 24/7.
Excellent. And when we come back, we're going to hear all about your story.
Right.
And how you created this amazing company, EVO Corp, that's protecting people on the internet.
Sure.
When we return. Thank you.
Right.
Ever tried paint and sip? Well, this is Paint and Kicks. Kicksmith Studio was founded by a group of sneaker enthusiasts with the goal of sharing their love of sneakers in a new and creative way. They believe that sneakers are more than just footwear. They are a form of art that reflects self-expression and culture. Their goal is to provide a fun, inclusive, and innovative space where anyone can explore their artistic side and create something truly unique. Kicksmith Studio is one of Peralta Design's most recent brand launches, and they are a great place for team and corporate events, birthday parties, or date nights. For more information, visit kicksmithstudio.com.
3, 2, 1. Launch frames.
And we're back. Please help me once again welcome Darwin Lara, founder and CEO of EVO Corp. Welcome back.
Thank you.
The fans are going nuts.
I see that. Wow.
Yeah.
Amazing.
They knew you would be here. So, Darwin, we ended the first segment by just kind of painting this grim picture, but there is hope. There are companies like yours that can help people.
Right.
But before we get to that, I want to hear your story. Take us back to the early days.
Right.
And how did we get here?
Okay, so it's funny because I think I was talking to you yesterday, and I kind of like was telling you, I was like, okay, I might get emotional, right? But again, I started liking computers since I was a little kid, and unfortunately for me, growing up back in Ecuador, there wasn't computers, there wasn't money, right? And my dad was already here, and I was thinking like, I'm gonna ask my dad to buy me a computer. And back in the day, it was a Macintosh, and I knew how much it cost. And when I told my dad the price, he was like, "You're crazy," right? But I didn't know the value. I thought, my dad's in the States, he got money, whatever.
Just get one,
right? I was fortunate enough that my mom cares so much about my education that she managed to put me in a private school. Private school.
Private school,
right? And in a privite school, they had computers.
You had access,
right?
What was the computer at that time? Not to date yourself too
much. An IBM computer, one of those old
DOS
boxes, DOS, yes, basic stuff.
10 go to 20. That's as far as I got with coding.
I was excited about it, and I remember for that class we needed to have a floppy disk, right? One of those old, right? And we only needed one, but I went and I lied to my mom and I said, "Mama, we need two," and those things were expensive. And my poor mom had to
sacrifice
buy me too, and but I was telling her one day, I was like, it paid off, Mom, because look at me now, right?
Right.
So then I was always an entrepreneur, right? I was always selling stuff. My mom used to give me money for the bus for a week, right? And I had a friend that used to work by my school, so I used to tell him to give me a ride. So with that money, I would buy stuff and sell it at school, and I would just buy and sell it. And then sometimes they caught on, and I was like, all right, now I'm gonna raffle whatever, like $10, $20, and it's like $2 a ticket, and now I had like 50 people, and and it was
Hustling.
Always constantly. And then in the house, I would carry water for people, I would shine shoes, and it was all of this to play soccer. Because my initial was to be a professional
Your
soccer
initial
player.
dream.
Right. It was to be a professional soccer player. I wasn't thinking about anything else. My mom was like, okay, school first, make sure you get good grades, And then on the weekends, if everything is good, you could play soccer. And I could only play soccer on Sundays. Right? So I had to do everything right and more just to play soccer on Sundays. But I was fortunate enough that when I went to school, I didn't go to school in where most of the kids went. I used to take like 2 buses. It was like in the city. And when I was coming back, I would pass by the popular soccer team in my city. And I used to go and see them training. And I used to go and I used to watch them like salivating, like, man, like I want to be there. I want to be there. And little by little, I got confidence. I started asking them questions, and they were like, well, not right now, whatever. You should go to the second team. And then I went to the second team, and then finally, they were like, listen, man, you got to go to this college. They're going to have a tryout. They never told me for what. I was like, all right. So finally, we went, and it was a tryout to make it to the U14 for the national team. And it was raining, and there was hundreds of kids. And, over there in Latin America, soccer is the only sport.
Right.
Right. So, I made it. 25. I was like,
you made it to the national team?
I made it to the national team.
That's awesome.
I made it to the. Unfortunately for me, I only played tryout games because I was on my way over here.
Okay.
All right. So
you had already begun the process.
Yeah, I already knew. I had my ticket already. I knew like 3 more months, whatever. I was on my way here. But just getting the jersey, just getting selected. Going through that process, just the mindset. I was always sports, and I did karate, I did swimming. That was like one of the things that my mom instilled on me. It was like, you just go to school and you do sports. And I was always involved in that. So then when I came here, for some reason, I didn't play too much until I found out that I could get a scholarship. But it was too late. It was my senior year, and I tried my hardest, right? But we made it. We came third in the nation. We won the championship, and of course, I didn't get nothing, no letters. I was like, whatever,
What school is this?
This is Port Chester High School.
Okay.
Right.
Great.
And then I went to junior college, West Chester Community College. I played soccer there. Great experience as well. And then that's when I started studying computers. I started, getting into programming and studying more computers. But then soon after, I realized that, okay, I don't want to spend too much time sitting down on a computer. I want to own the business. I want to own a business. And at that time, Gateway Computer was around, and I sort of read their story.
Oh, yeah, I remember those. They had like the cow print on the box.
Right. I sort of read this.
They were different.
Right. I sort of read the story. So I was like, wait a minute, I could do this. And sure enough, that's when I was like, all right, what do I need to do? What do I need to learn to own a business? And little by little, I was like, okay, I need to know business. So I drift away from computers a little and I started business. But I was still going and working and doing stuff with computers. So I found a guy that used to sell computers. So he would buy them on bulk. Remember that company, Overstock.com?
Yes.
So at the beginning, they would just sell you stuff. So he used to buy from them on bulk computers. And I was one of the guys that used to clean them up. And in there, we used to find a lot of information. Financial records, balance sheet.
We need Joe Perrin. National E-Waste Services.
Well, it's crazy. Well, even today, like I was just actually.
That's amazing how much people leave on a machine.
Oh, yeah.
And it opens everything up. I was reading a Reddit thread where somebody had one of these Windows handhelds. They're like, oh, it didn't work, and they went to return it because it wasn't charging right, and they never wiped their data.
Oh, God.
It's like selling your phone and leaving all your accounts on
God.
there. And apparently the guy who found it sent the guy an email from his own email saying, hey, listen, I'm deleting all of this, but next time.
Luckily this was a good guy.
Right,
luckily.
Exactly.
Right.
He said his Bitcoin wallet was on there, everything possible you can imagine. And it's crazy.
Sometimes think about the stuff that we have on our phones, right? Like, and we protect this phone. It's like if we leave without it, we feel like we naked. Like, we go crazy. We're like little kids with like no chocolate.
Drive back home and get it.
Yeah, seriously, because of the amount of information that we have, right? But yeah, so then I started business, and then finally, it was when I finally went to University of Bridgeport, doing an internship. That's when the name started. That's when I zeroed in. I was like, hey, this is what I'm doing, and this is it. And it took me literally 8 years to finish a 4-year degree. I had a family already, kids. So, but one thing that I've always known about myself, I don't give up. Especially if I know something that's gonna benefit, it's gonna be something good. I don't give up. I'm gonna keep going until I get it. So I finished college because one of the things that I said to myself, I don't want to start a business without a college degree. So I wanted to have a college degree because when I'm in the business settings, I don't want no one to tell me, oh, well, what school did you go to? Oh, well, you don't have this. Oh, and now when I have it, they still ask me, how come you don't have this? How come you don't have that? Soon after I graduated from University of Bridgeport, I went to MIT and I took a cybersecurity certifications. And it's still with that, they will ask me like, oh, how did you get in there? I was like, well, I apply and I pay for my certification. You should try it.
Exactly.
Right, so that's when everything started. And then from there, it's like, I think right after that, that's when like you and I started connecting. That's when we started meeting. And,
And how did you come up with the name EVO Corp?
Not
Evil Corp, EVO.
EVO, yes. So my name is Darwin.
Okay.
Right? Charles Darwin, Theory of Evolution, right?
Right. Charles Darwin.
It's a great X-Men character too.
Yeah.
I don't know if you're aware, but.
Got it.
A lot of the stuff is,
and we're always evolving. I mean, one of our slogans back in the day was "Evolve or Die."
Oh, there you go. Right? See,
The Guerrilla Group. Shout out to Kevin.
Yeah.
Shout out to the other Kevin.
Kevin Kerwin.
So
Yes.
so I would say within a competitive a business, you either compete or you fail, right?
Yes.
It's a Charles Darwin quote, but I rearranged it and made it like sort of
Love
my
it.
own, right? Right. So we're here to compete, right? Since we've been
Survival of the fittest.
right,
Yeah.
and that's just how it is, right?
Yeah.
So
So tell me the journey, how it's been. Okay, you graduated, you launched it. When did you get your first client?
So I got my first client. So my first year in business, I wasn't grinding enough. I was just fixing things. I was still being myself because, I sit at a computer and I don't move, and I was still doing, and soon, because I was still working full time. And I was lucky to work in a place where a gentleman knew that I was doing this. And he was like, Darwin, you spend a lot of time on your computer, so you need to learn how to sell.
Right.
I was like, huh? So he's like, yeah, you need to learn how to sell. So he gave me a sales book. And soon after, I found a job. I went and got a job with a solar company doing sales, like knocking on doors. It was the toughest job I have ever had.
Right. The amount of rejection you get.
But it taught me a lot.
Absolutely.
And not only forget the rejection. It was the environment within the company. It was just crazy. But I appreciate that because they taught me a lot. I see them and they can't believe. I was like, listen, all of the time, all of that stuff, I was learning. I was soaking everything in. All the courses that they pay, I was there. I was listening. I was writing stuff down. So I learned. So my first year, I didn't do anything. My second year, towards the end of my second year, that's when I landed my first client. Because now I put all of those tools in practice. Because before, I would go in a room and I wouldn't talk to anybody. I'm still like that. Right? But I got used to it. Now I got to hit the switch and I'm like, I'm here for this. Let's go. So.
Yeah, I mean, look, I've seen you, any event that I attend that's networking, you're there.
Right.
So, and that's how you got here. People
Thanks.
asking you like, did I call you? Yes. I mean, I've been watching your development.
Right.
And I'm in a position to provide a platform, and I think you're ready for it.
Right.
And you've been at the M&T Business Accelerator.
Right.
I've seen you at UB. I've seen you at all these events.
Right.
So you're putting the work in.
Yeah.
Have you scaled? Do you have someone else helping you now? Like, what kind of team have you built?
So yes, since last time I only had one guy and myself. Now I have a lady and I have another guy that helps me remotely.
Mm-hmm.
So little by little, this lady, she's helping me more with my sales, more with my marketing. So and although she's also a computer geek like myself, she's helping me more with that. So little by little, I'm gonna start drifting and just leave it alone because I need to concentrate more in my brand and
Right.
making sure that I get these deals. Because I'm the face of it, and as you know, you see me in all of these events, and every time I'm there, I'm there to sell my business, to sell myself, to sell EVO Corp, right, and the stuff that we do. So
let's get into that. Let's talk about some of the verticals and services that you provide.
So again, most of cybersecurity companies and especially managed IT services, we pretty much do the same thing, right? And one of the things that I tell some of the guys that I know that in this industry is like to me, they're not a competition. And then when I tell them that, they're like, what do you mean? I was like, no, I don't have a competition. You're not a competitor of mine. So I said, your competition, my competition is the same. And they're like, what do you mean? I was like, well, there's cyber criminals. Those are our competitors. Those are the ones that we try to avoid, right? But yeah, we offer from email protection, from managed IT services, from infrastructure. Right now, I just took a job just installing security cameras for a resident building. I had to meet a quota for the first quarter of the year, and I needed that revenue, so I did it. And now I'm up 6%, right? Just because I took the job, right? So anything from security, and again, and managed services, right? This is the services that we provide.
Excellent. Now, is there a certain type of cyber criminal that you're the best at?
The cyber criminal that is the best.
I always go back to Marvel and Avengers, and so
like
if there was a type of bad guy out there,
right?
Who would that be? That EVO Corp would be like, their arch rival.
So it's funny, right? Because before it was the kid, with the hood, but it's not like that anymore, right? Because literally they
the anonymous guy,
right? They literally dress like business people, right? Because they go and
they're going to work.
They're going to work, and not only that, but also certain countries create these programs where they have state promoters that they create their team to literally go after government, go after nations, and to those are the real villains, right? Those are the guys that we got to watch out for, because those are the guys.
Like those dudes with the oil pipeline.
Great, right?
That was
right.
That's a country they
right.
were going after.
So think about it, right? They going after infrastructure, right? They trying to like literally stop us from producing, from doing anything, and think about how scary that is. Right. Think about like being without electricity a day.
Yeah.
Like, when was the last time that again, it was a human error. The company where they stopped the airplanes, right? The air traffic couldn't move. Like, and it was a human error. It was a guy was patching and then did the wrong thing, and then he was like, stop everything. Right. So
it's so true, because you think of somebody hacking your Instagram stories and posting Bitcoin stories. That's one level, and then you have these guys that are shutting down countries.
Right.
Or flights,
right,
or oil, or electricity, or grids, power grids.
So it's funny that you say that, because hacking, is thrown around a lot, and a lot of people, like especially in social media, they get excited. They're like, oh my God, I got hacked my thing, sometimes I hear my son, I'm like, be quiet. Just because they able to change a few things here and there, and then make it appear like it's something else. They're like, oh yeah, I got hacked. And again, it is, right. But we're dealing with something.
You're
more
keeping
serious.
it in perspective,
right? We're dealing with something serious, right? And I'm fortunate enough that my son is taking up the same career, and he's doing phenomenal. And I'm able to teach him and let him know not to use the social media as his life.
Right.
I said, you have to stop it at some point. You can't just give all the information that you want. It's nice that you say, hey, oh, look at this video, look at this, or you watching video. It's nice, but just don't share too much information. Right? Don't share too much, because it's gonna come back to haunt you. And that's it. You're gonna realize when you're 20, hey, what happened? Oh, it's something that you did when you were a teenager, right?
I have no idea where this AI is going, because everything that we're posting, pretty soon now it's generating videos. Like, it was generating images,
right? And
now you can generate pictures. The
speed
Google one,
at which it has evolved, is the most frightening thing. You know what I mean? When we first looked at, I remember when we first got the DALL-E demo access, and I was just like, oh hey, here's this Porsche with Dominican flag livery. You're like, okay,
it was crude.
Crude, but like, it was cool that you could just do it.
Mm-hmm.
And now you're doing it pretty flawlessly. Now you're doing it as video.
Yes.
That where people, the new generation of Google VO, I think it's called.
Yeah.
Was
it looks like film quality, like
it does.
4K,
right?
So with enough
cinematic quality.
So to Darwin's point, once you provide enough information, it becomes that much more easy to simulate you.
Yeah,
you know what I mean.
Right.
Yeah.
But
Once they figure out fingers, it's a wrap. That's what I look for.
And I mean, some of the models have gotten that down pretty well.
Right. Yes. Yeah. And I was gonna say that right now. It's like you can't look up for
really
the extra finger because now you can't tell now. Like because I look for those patterns as well, but now I notice that they get in, like you said, cinematic.
Right. I'm looking for something in the background, like a chicken to turn into a boy or something weird. To really detect is this real or not, because there's guys on sending money to OnlyFans for a fake person.
Sometimes I don't even feel bad for these people sometimes, and I'll be honest. I'm like, it's like, what are you doing there?
Right.
Like this is what you're looking for. It's like there's a by street, right? But there's many ways that you could go home.
But you went down that way,
right? And then they rob you. They mug you. Now you're like, oh, I got mugged. Well, where did you go?
That's so true.
Something to be said about it.
That's so true.
The situations that you put yourself in, which is one of those things where I try to tell all of our clients to never reuse a password in another platform, because a new platform gets breached every week.
Yeah.
And as soon as you don't think that they're going to use AI to test that email and password against everything else, it's a gold mine if you use everything to get into the same email and password to get into every account. Done deal.
Right. Just to touch a little bit on that, right? You could buy even password generator, right? Which is a kit that it gives you and it generates passwords for you, and into like you get one that works and you in.
Right.
And that's it.
How do you make a good password?
Well, again, it's a combination, right? We all know there's a combination of letters and numbers, right?
Special character.
Right. It's always a combination, right? But like he says, right? You have to keep changing it, right? And it becomes to like monthly. For certain companies, they do it weekly. And what I hear about, because I hear employee stories, they're like, oh, I'm tired of this. I said, but what if it's that day that you don't do it because you decided not to do it, something happens and now everyone is looking at you. So how you feel, right? It's like in a quiet room and somebody plays a play. Everybody looks, right? Oh, you right? No.
Just think about it, right? Like, you kind of get that exasperation. You're like, all right, Salesforce, I have to change my password again. But it's all for, it's only in your benefit. And that's why two-factor authentication is so important as well, which is also not perfect. People can spoof that as well.
Absolutely.
So it's not that that's perfect either, but, it's one of those things that provides an extra level of security.
Correct. Yeah.
If they need another vector, especially if it's SMS, is only so much. Using an authenticator tool ends up being a little bit more, another level of complexity.
Right. And again, sometimes we think of that it's only happening to us, right? It happens to Microsoft. It happens to Google. It happens to It happens to the government. It's like who are we?
Right.
You know what I mean?
The IRS gets hacked.
Right.
Like,
think about, so to your point, think about it. If the IRS gets hacked, right, and the IRS, if you pay your taxes, if you do your taxes, they have your information.
Everything.
So
Social.
whoever hacked it, guess what? Guess what they have?
Your social,
right?
Your birthday,
everything.
Your name, your address,
right?
Everything.
Government agencies sometimes, and I see them. I sat with one or two government agencies, and they use these old systems. They use the way they do it is so prehistoric to me, and I'm like, what are you guys doing? And we giving our information to this, and they know, and they don't care. Simply, they don't care. But meanwhile, we have to do business with the government, no matter what. Whatever it is, vote, you got to pay taxes. Whatever it is that we're doing, we're giving this information.
Upload your license.
Right. No, it's true, right?
Yeah.
But what can we do? This is the era that we live.
It is.
Right?
On that note, what can small businesses do and entrepreneurs do to protect themselves?
So one of the things that I highly recommend, and I look at it this way, right? When we go to the doctor and get a physical every year, cybersecurity resilience, right? Assessment, I mean. You go to the doctor, you get it, and the doctor assesses your health to see what is wrong with you. You know, measures your weight, your blood pressure, your temperature, and all of this. He's doing an assessment, right? The same way we do. We go into your place and we do an assessment of your IT environment. So make sure your personal assets are good, right? Or anywhere from, especially your customer data, because this is your lifeline, right? This is your stuff that not only you keep within your system, but also is that information that your clients have within their system. So doing an assessment is key. It's only gonna make you better. It's only gonna prevent you from having these incidents happen, right? And then training your people. I cannot say this enough. You have to make sure that your team is training these things and is continuously training. Basically, that's the starting point.
Okay, and EVO Corp provides those services. So you do the assessment. Tell us a little bit about how does somebody go about signing up to get one? Is it free? What does it cost? Or whatever you're comfortable sharing. I'd like our listeners to at least leave this episode with something practical, tactical they can do. And you also provide training. So maybe share a little bit more about this risk assessment that you provide,
Right.
training you provide, and then how people can find out more.
So yes, we do provide the risk assessment. We do provide the training, right? But here's how it works, right? So we typically, when we do an assessment or when a company does an assessment, we're gonna identify your critical assets, right? We're also gonna map potential threats and as well as measuring the impact of the likelihood that these threats are likely to happen, right? And then we develop a plan. And then from that, we let you know this is what's going on. This is the critical points. This is what you need to protect. This is what you need to do. It does have a cost. However, if 5 of your listeners that signed up, that send me an email, which I'm going to share with you right now, you guys will get a free assessment. And yeah, we use tools and techniques. We have a platform to do it. We could do it manually. Usually for small companies that don't have the financials, they have the budget, we pretty much do it manually, right? Which is also a good way to do it. It's not a bad way, but just with tools, you just do it quicker. That's it. All right.
All right. So how can people contact you?
So again, my website is evo23.com and my email is dlara@evo23.com. Our phone number is 203-612-4034. Again, that is evo23.com, dlara@evo23.com. And my phone number is 203-612-4034.
Well, Darwin, thank you for being on our show.
Ramon,
an amazing story. I'm sure you still play soccer every now and then for fun.
I try
How those
to,
knees doing?
but the knees are not.
They're not what they used to be.
They're not. And I salivate every time because I live close to a soccer field, and I'm like, man, but I'm gonna get back.
You're gonna get back.
I'm gonna get back to it.
Awesome. Well, thanks for being on our show. You shared a lot of gems with our listeners. All the best to your company. I'm really enjoying your development. Keep going, and I'm glad we could be part of your journey.
No, thank you again. Thank you for having me and giving me this platform to advertise my company, right? My brand. I truly appreciate it, and you know how much I admire you. You know that, bro. I think and I told you this the other day. I've every time when we look at somebody that we wanna be like, we're always thinking about the multi-billionaire and the billionaire, and sometimes it's like your connection and the similarities, they're not there. Like, how can you be that person if you don't have nothing in common? But we do have a lot in common with you. So to me, you're the guy. To me, you're the guy that I aspire to be. Because you're here. I could touch you. I see you. You know what I mean?
You can touch me after the show. No, I'm just kidding.
Shake your hand.
Yeah, exactly.
Shake your hand.
We'll keep it there.
Shake your hand, yes.
Absolutely. Well, thank you once again for being here. And Jorge, thank you for your service. Everybody listening, thank you for paying attention, subscribing, liking, sharing. We encourage you to do that with our show.
Please leave a comment on the show. That helps us a lot.
Absolutely. And make sure you get a hold of Darwin. He mentioned that if 5 of you that are listening reach out to him, the first 5 that reach out to him will get a free assessment. I would take advantage of that. All right, everybody. Thank you for listening to this episode of Mission Control. Until next time, this is your host, Ramon Peralta with Peralta Design, and we launch brands.